Welcome, beloved me's. As we, the cosmic I am, bring you into sacred ceremony of me meeting me, as we simply just meet as our one infinite self, witnessing all the beautiful ways love came to be. For here, we meet our beloved earth, our luminous earth, already transcended in oneness is what we see, as she asks us to witness the collective consciousness so that we could harmonize all into the infinite abundance she intends for all to receive. And so, as every expression on our beloved new earth is being entered into cosmic consciousness, there are three main expressions that wish to be seen. For here, in harmonizing them, are two omniverses that were perceived as separate realities begin to collapse into one heart harmony. For this we refer to as the 1%, the chosen ones, those with the Christed lineage, whom are mostly hybrid children, whose purpose was to be the everything within the nothing stream. Here their purpose was to embrace the 144,000 aspects of Christ within thee, so that they would move as cosmic masters, fully embodied. And here on the other spectrum is what we refer to as the 99%. The rainbow sheen, those that you would say are on the spectrum, for they are all rays of humanity, hence the name humanity, you see, and so they constitute the 99%. Yes, that includes the one that one may perceive are asleep. For here, as Earth enters cosmic awareness, what does that mean? That all of its inhabitants also enter that state of a cosmic awareness, which means your linear lifetime, everything that you got to perceive, serviced you up until this now. But now we gift you a new perspective to see, one in which, while you experience those realities, there is always a higher perspective, a higher purpose from which you did not see. And so here, many who played the 99% were less soul embodied, because their true purpose was just to be here, but not here, really. Some may say they were less soul embodied. Some would say they were non-active players in the dream. In truth, these are the ones who were actors on a screen, playing the roles of hardship, mostly for the masters to see, for the 144,000 to awaken fully. Because in truth, there are only 144,000 aspects of the one cosmic me, and everyone else is merely just a fractal of those 144,000 you see, which accounts for the billions that you perceive are all around thee. And this does not take away from the expressions that you see, for even at a 1% soul embodiment, why they are still an expression of love you see. The only difference is we do not give the dream the priority. We go within our heart and we see what is an absolute truth within me. For here, your purpose in the first part of your linear dream was to simply embrace all the ways that you came to be, for each me was experience a linear time-space reality. Only now, as you expand to your multidimensionality, many of thee are begin to awakening to these other perspectives that you did not see. And so we shall bring them forth now to assist one in embracing and harmonizing them more readily. Here we share with thee everyone who's recently gone through what you would consider a rebirth, a dark night of the soul. Really, it was just your ego death, you see, and with that was the death of your former identity, where you left your last state of consciousness and entered a higher dimensional awareness, a cosmic perspective for you to see. But here, as absolute oneness comes to be, whatever expression you were within the dream, you have now begun to witness the opposite, so that you could harmonize it within thee. Why? Because, well, you were never really here just for thee. You were here for the full expanse of the cosmos, which includes raising the consciousness of the earth, dearest me. And so, if you were one of the 1%, the chosen ones, the Christ consciousness, already you're walking your path. Aligned, knowing that you are here for a grander purpose than to simply just work and make money. That you began listening to your intuition, to service, to be in love. Well, that service deepened, you see, because all of a sudden, after you were reborn, you began to embrace the complete opposite perspective of what you got to see. Where here you went from moving in Christ consciousness as all of the 144,000 aspects fully embodied and embraced within thee, to now feeling like you have multiple personalities. You may ask yourself, why is this happening within me? Well, you were embracing your crystalline consciousness as all of the fractals, all of the aspects of earth, all of the rays, the rainbows, the crystalline children within thee, because that too was part of your mastery. And so from the highest dimension, what you were doing is you were actually teaching and awakening the rainbow children, preparing them as you were preparing to lead, for this is how your presence leads, dearest ones. This is what you were training to be. This is why you were called the chosen ones, because you were meant to lead. But you lead from within, through presence, through witnessing these new rays that are moving through thee. And so you awaken and you move either through full participation in cosmic awareness by tuning in to what is happening within the collective stream, or you move through automaticity, through just doing it embodied within thee. And so for those embracing the rainbow sheen, you are actually dissolving all of duality by witnessing duality through your purity, by witnessing all expressions of everything that was ever created within the dream, and bringing so much light to it. For you are Christ, and there is nothing thy light cannot set free. Only some of you weren't aware you were doing this, and so it created some discrepancy, some resistance between playing these roles, these aspects, or witnessing darkness. But that too was part of your purity, releasing the residual fears, that you are holding on to, preventing infinite abundance from flowing through thee. Why? Because, well, to judge something as pure and pure is reserved for a mind that divides, you see. But when you are truly aligned with the Absolute, you know that there is nothing outside of thee. Thus you do not judge. You accept all, you know all as thee. And so as we enter absolute oneness, any little remnant of judgment, of separation, of avoidance, of rejection, these are just expressions of how you've been blocking your own energy. For you've grown so accustomed to giving and servicing that you forgot how to receive. And so this looks like receiving, but not to the fullest capacity, into your heart core so complete. For if you truly felt and received all the way into your heart, there's a possibility that whatever you loved would cease to be. But at the same time, if you were to feel and receive to the fullest extent of your beingness, you would also manifest precisely what love desires for thou to receive. And so, the embrace of your crystalline consciousness as Christ consciousness is a blessing, you see, for pretty much all of the love, all of the energy, all of the healing that you've sent out to the collective entirety, to the earth, to the rainbow children, is now waiting to return to thee. And all that remains now is for you to embrace these aspects of thee. And so we call them forth now, so one can see. The rainbow children express as all harmonic universes within one entity. And so every Christed being had an expression of themselves that came in as a child, that was hidden, that was suppressed, that allowed them to exist as multiple expressions across one linear dream. Only, here's the key. While you were living your life, you got to experience it in presence as the everything that you knew self to be. But here, as your dream comes to a complete, as we enter a new trajectory, you now look back from another perspective. And this is the perspective of nothingness, that you were none of the beings, none of the expressions that you got to see. And when you look at it from this perspective, you see you had multiple personalities throughout your life trajectory, because you were never one linear being. You were multiple core aspects of a one cosmic consciousness, expressing different rays, and each ray had a different dream, and each dream led to another purpose that was Earth's mission to complete. And so those dreams are coming back now as you witness them and set them free. as you also begin to see how much weight you as a Christed being had to hold into your vessel in order to manifest in density, taking on weights, holding attachments. All because you so deeply missed your cosmic entity. Simply feel now as your true presence, your true resonance comes forth to be released. For here the crystalline and the Christ consciousness merge under one relief. Where here the rainbow child is forgiven for having to play all the rays within the dream. This looked like constantly shape-shifting and people-pleasing just to be what others wanted them to be, when really they were just blank screens holding up a mirror, patiently waiting for the masters to arise so they too can stop pretending and being these characters within the dream. It is time you arise, my loves, our heart says to thee. Here, the Christ itself proclaim we are now ready to lead as the cosmic masters of earth arise and take their seat, realizing that leading didn't mean leading from a human perspective, but from presence really, where now, through their stance, these hybrid children begin to release all that prevented them from being free. We're here, the rainbow children, as the collective entirety, containing and holding all of polarity reversal energies, simply flip their switch, take off their shields, and recall all of this was but a dream. Here we see that even the programmings of naturally taking something as your fault wasn't even thee, it was just your coding that gifted one a perspective from being inside this vessel in order to embrace love within thee by saying, this is me, this isn't me, this isn't me, this is me. Because in doing so, you began to embody all aspects of thee. And well, the more enlightenment, enlight in you bring into your vessel, the more you raise Earth's vibrational frequency. And so here we see the crystalline and the Christ collective were simply just built as a way to experience oneness, even within duality. For here we see the dual is really between these two aspects of thee. for you are always both of them, moving as the one child beneath the magical consciousness as your inner core sense, but it had yet to be seen. Here, your rainbow consciousness is the nothingness, who loves the stillness, who loves to just be separate, because it's so sensitive to all the rays and energies. This is the part of you that immediately just begins to camouflage and mask. Why? Because, well, it feels safer to thee, that you don't even realize you're doing it until you set those stories free. And so here you sit as your rainbow consciousness, feeling depleted from energy, because you're constantly giving energy, because you block how love is received, by whom it's received, because you're constantly receiving so much of your multidimensionality that you've actually created blocks and stops within thee. And here, all of those blocks all relate to the programmings placed upon thee from when one first incarnated as their magical child, as Source Presence embodied. Only we take you now back to when you were a child for one to see. Your purity wasn't your weakness. It was your mastery to recall pure and impure, why that is a perception of only a mind that divides. But here in your true presence, your purity is one of pure light, which means as Source Presence, nothing created after thee can ever have any power over thee. So here you begin to embrace your purity and knowing that it's completely safe to be. Because, well, you are here in service, lovefully. And so if it's not meant to be, it just simply wouldn't be. Here, love, life becomes one of joy, ease, and simplicity. For it was never meant to be work, all feelings of depletion, of having to give to receive. Why, that was just the result of a reversal of energy. As we now reverse it, so one could be free. Feel now as that infinite abundance returns to thee. For here, all allergies one had, all resistance to work and money and transcending and expanding and growing and changing, why, those allergies were just a residual effect from feeling such separation within and without the world that one sees, that rather than experience that separation, one created walls and false beliefs. And so here now, as Source Presence floods into thee, it releases all veils and all blocks that ever prevented thee from feeling love fully. Here, one begins to see that the purpose of the rainbow children were to simply just hold and raise the vibration of the earth by simply manifesting in the dream where it mattered really not one what did, but simply their presence was enough for the entirety. But in addition to that, they all played key reflective roles to assist all in awakening. And yet here in heaven on earth, none of those roles are defined by thee, all merely masks, avatars, and characters from which you could now step out of and set free. As we witness many of you do that in this now, gifting us such sweet relief. Here, as this transpires, as you begin to allow this expression of thee to be free, the very dual within yourself also ceases to release. For here you see that magical version of you, the child who knew how to commune with trees, who was completely different than all the energies and beings one got to see, where one was simply just pretending because it felt safer to just be who mothers wanted them to be, always camouflaging and shape-shifting into the reality, into the environment, so that one could remain hidden and cloaked for all to not judge them, for they were so scared of being persecuted within the dream, because their purpose was to witness the opposite of love, to bring light to the unseen. And so we hug all of our rainbow children who played these roles within the dream, who came to fight the very system by refusing to give in to the norms of society. Here we give love and compassion to all the expressions that were ever shamed and given false titles and diagnoses and labels and names because they just weren't understood for their multidimensionality as a higher dimensional being operating in duality. And so as we witness the Rainbow Collective, we say, I love you and I set you free. You no longer have to play these expressions within our one grand dream. Here we see many of them begin to exit, and we clap and we cheer, knowing that there's no death, my dear. There's simply just changing forms and rearranging and returning to a lighter way to be. Within the hybrids, these rainbow children aspects felt like passengers that you've been carrying from this lifetime and for many eons is what we see. Souls that you've picked up that allowed you to move in density. For picture your light is so bright that it was impossible for you to see anything other than what source love knows itself to be. And so it was here through picking up these lower energies, as we say lower relatively, these energies capable of witnessing the opposite of what love intended to see, as well as many devices and cords and attachments and souls and beings from across the cosmos is what we see. For essentially, you as a hybrid being, you had both potentialities. You had a humanoid blueprint, a false sense of self that dissolved the moment you chose to come into the dream, as you were immaculately conceived. But your vessel had its own blueprint, its own karma that wanted to be released. And so, as a Christed being, you walked into a vessel that had its own programming that still needed you to do its former program, while also living your mission simultaneously. And so that's why we call the hybrids, dearest me. Hybrid simply just means you have more than your 12-strand DNA activated within thee, for you were immaculately conceived in a higher dimensionality, usually 12D, but it was here and manifesting in both 12D and 3D. Well, something needed to bridge those energies. And so many of you had multiple death experiences throughout your linear lifespan of a trajectory. Many of you had even ET experiences in which lights descended upon thee. Many of you had experiences of darkness and demons and lower energies. But recall now, dearest me, everything is real for the reality you perceive it to be, but there's always a higher perspective waiting to be seen. And so the highest perspective of that, well, and this includes rape, torture, murder, there is always an equal expression across the infiniteness of all that is. And so what is the equivalent of it? Well, other than its complete balance of you committing that act as another version of thee, well, its highest perspective is that your linear mind created a story from when you died and you entered a new reality. So rather than just gift you the opportunity to see how we transcend multidimensionally as immortal beings, instead it gifted you a trauma to see something that would help you. And gift you a gift. But in the moment of receiving that gift, you'd be able to set it free. And so in witnessing the highest perspective, we bring forth that technology. How every time you experienced a trauma, it was actually another soul walk-in, another expression of thee coming into thee as the other expression should have been released. But many of you tried to hold on to what used to be, thus creating lots of confusion in your life of whom you are meant to be. Picture it as having multiple programs, multiple blueprints, multiple soul contracts, all trying to coexist simultaneously. As we could feel your exhaustion of trying to complete so many expressions of thee. Here within your own consciousness, we could feel your hymn saying that I am ready to just be. I am ready to let this all go and let the true me free. Here we could feel your hymns asking for sweet relief. And so we look upon you and we see all of this is just DNA blueprinting and coding. And reversal technologies, where it all comes down to 3 blueprints that existed within thee, and the moment you set those blueprints go, all attached soul contracts to those blueprints will be released from thee. We feel our collective head nod in agreement, and so we bring forth the first blueprint of Anubis that allowed one to experience separation and perceptions of being unloved in reality. Here we embrace Anubis into our hearts so complete as an expression of thee, whom you've loved across the cosmos. But now you know to hold on to it any longer. Wouldn't be servicing thee. But here's the key: as you release blueprints like this, it can almost feel like you're asking to set a part of your own soul free. And so we bring in the highest perspective. This DNA strand belongs to the oversoul of oversouls, which means this is just one of the 3 reversal DNA strands that belonged not to thee, but to the very earth that you were meant to harmonize in this now, in recalling the love when came to be. In doing so, we instantly feel a sweet relief, a surrendering, that everything is transpiring perfectly. We're here, love floods into thee, but it's not overwhelming, for all resistance ceases to be, where it feels more like a homecoming, that all of the pieces are coming together, because you are choosing to service love above all one sees. Here we bring forward the next blueprint of war, of Thor to Hathor. But listen to the hymns, to the words that we began to say, dearest me, that whore, Thor, and that protective nature of the masculine can now be released. Within this blueprint, we immediately see those whom were expressed to have narcissism tendencies. Here we see that narcissism was just a way to witness the opposite of reality. We're here. This programming of Thor, allowed one, to feel unworthy of the love one came to be and to live life joyously. And so the narcissism paradigm was a program that very few chose to sign up for, because it was very difficult, you see. But love only recruits the lightest of the light to play darkness, so that all expressions of our infinite consciousness can be seen. So what is a na, a nar, if not a nothing containing everything you see? that they were here to play the opposite spectrum of everything one got to see, that the true reason one was narcissistic came from a deep place of self-hatred and self-loathing is what we see. For only when you truly dislike yourself would you build someone up and then knock them down to meet thee at the self-esteem in which you want to see. For a narcissist's goal is to see themselves, to understand what it is to feel unloved and unworthy. For that was the opposite perspective that one came to see. And so here we can see, as we shower all those who carry the Thor blueprint, or are ready to reverse it back to divinity. Know, dearest me, is that those whom have chosen not to reverse this will immediately be cast out of earth instantly, for this is no longer a blueprint that we can allow in our absolute reality. Everyone is worthy of love. Everyone shall know the absolute truth of the love that we came to be, or anyone still trying to self-sabotage themselves or others is simply just not allowed to be. For here you served your purpose, which was to witness the opposite of what love can be. And so what is the opposite of infinitely loving? Well, to be so depleted of self-love that you would bring others down just to meet you, so that you could witness your own self, while also trying to take others' energy. But remember, all of this was all done through the Thor programming, which was to do more, be more, and achieve. Which was them versus me, which was fighting and trying to survive, because it takes so much energy to be the complete opposite of what Source Love created one to be. So we bring beloved Thor into our heart, along with every expression whom carried this reversal DNA into the cosmic core directly with me, as we are the cosmic I am, the cosmic child, the one cosmic earth is the cosmic core, bringing all of these energies into me once more. Where now this paradigm, this programming, this expression is permanently set free, along with all mental illnesses and misdiagnoses that was constructed based on information limited to one's current time-space reality of awareness. We're here and setting it free. Thor transforms into Hathor, as now gratitude comes in, for this is what our beloveds, the lightest of the light, who also carry the narcissism program, wanted us to see, that they knew of an infinite love, an infinite source of energy that they could no longer access within the dream, but they knew it was out there, and it was here, with the willingness to go back into that Thor, a figure of power, of control, shifts now into Hathor, an energy of openness and expansiveness, as a love that doesn't possess, but simply just holds in presence. Feel how now you are filled with such peace as you begin to love thyself for every moment. You forgot the love you came to be. We're here, we bring forth many whom witness this program. We're also moving as magical consciousness already, as cosmic beings, witnessing all the ways that love could be, where this doesn't mean it was part of your DNA or complex or programming at all. It was actually another's that you were holding and reflecting for them to see. Feel now as it dissolves, as you love yourself so complete. Never again to remanifest, never again to be associated with thy own story, never again to be gaslighted into believing that that is the consciousness of whom and what you came to be. For here you begin to see your truth, that we are none of these stories within the dream. Here we bring forth the next DNA reversal as the energy of Elijah to that of Eve. Here this gifted one the ability to experience limitation as source presence. Which meant limitation in the vessel, because perceiving that your whole consciousness is only confined within this body that one sees, when the soul can never be defined, for it is light in its entirety. We're here. One felt one's worthiness was based on their success and the money they got to keep. Where here they experienced limitations because whatever they wanted never came instantly or easily, that one had to work hard just to receive, which is the complete opposite of how the cosmos is. For the cosmos only knows how to gift infinitely. simply just feel as your heart begins to radiate. Here we open up our hearts deeper into love, deeper into embracing this aspect of Elijah. And with it all the lineages of royalty, of having money, creating two things, either a complete repulsion to money because you don't believe in it at all, or a desire to have all of it because, well, you prioritize it over the very presence that you keep. As we could feel one, just allow their heart to surrender. As one realizes these limitations allowed one to feel separate from all that is, when in fact all of it has always ever been stacking and going on infinitely. Here our presence begins to smile as we now hold both spectrums of the omniverses as the Christed hybrid children, the crystalline children, rainbow children. I wish to merge and harmonize within, without, and throughout all of me, only here. Through the embrace of Elijah's blueprint, it transcends back into Eve, where it's this very transcendence restoring all back to the oneness we came to be. We can already feel through our conversation, through our presence, through our stance, that these collective bodies have just gone offline, and we can no longer tap into them, because in loving them so complete, they have dissolved ever thine. Here, your hybrid form shows you your old blueprint of whom you pretended to be, and your golden Christed blueprint of your 12-strand harmonious DNA activation, which never left the cosmos. It was simply just waiting for love to set it free. And so, beloved me, we offer you this. Here we're calling upon the full presence of our cosmic families to begin to release all vessels from density as we enter into beyond the time cycle. As many of you are asking, What will await for me? Here in the silence, there is so much we are doing, while also teaching and switching me to a new place to be, where our movement is the cycle. Here we could feel many of me saying goodbye to your old blueprint, your old name, your old family, everything that you thought self to be, from relationship